Hello, I'm Flora Moon, Sustainability Director for Expressworks. We're change management consultants dedicated to delivering sustainable change for the better. We help our oil and gas, finance, and high tech clients with the behavioral and cultural transformation needed for sustainability and regeneration. Our specialty is creating and implementing system, process, and operational change. Today at CarbonExpo, I'd like to get you started or help you think about how to evolve your sustainability efforts. First, we'll set some context. There is a sustainability journey that has evolved since the Brundtland Report in 1998 that launched sustainability on a global scale. We could map all of our sustainability efforts along this scale, from doing less bad to doing more good. Global society pressures are nudging us further to the sustainable and regenerative side because we no longer have the luxury of doing business as usual. Human activities have breached planetary boundaries that support human life. This concept of planetary boundaries was proposed by Earth system and environmental scientists in 2009. They identified four: biogeochemical flows, land system change, biosphere integrity, and climate change. We've just surpassed the fifth, which is novel entities, in January of this year. In other words, we have too many man made chemicals, and we've disrupted our climate and other natural systems that create the environment that support us. We must also acknowledge the need to repair and regenerate our social fabric. Kate Raworth, an ecological economist at Oxford University, created the donut model on the right. The outer circle is the environmental boundary we are not supposed to exceed. The inner circle is the minimum baseline for all social needs. Notice the red, the big red blobs? That's how far we're exceeding or underperforming, exceeding in the environmental realm and underperforming in the social realm. We all have a role in restoring our natural and social environments for a safe operating space for human beings. The good news is we've done it before. We healed the hole in the ozone layer and stopped acid rain. Why is this important? Higher levels of UV radiation and acid rain wreaks havoc with human health, causes loss of plant species, reduces global food supply. It also affects marine ecosystems and those biogeochemical cycles. Those are our natural carbon sinks. And climate change is doing exactly the same things. We've compromised the planet's ability to absorb the effects of our human activities. What can we in the oil and gas industry do? Let's start by focusing on stopping flaring and methane leaks from all sources. Why? Because methane is 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide, and satellite monitoring allows governments and people to watch. Let's face it, we need to fix our leaks. Do your part. You might even be able to monetize these activities. IPECA and OGCI have created a best practice guide for effective methane management. Check it out. How did we get here? Part of the challenge has to do with the way we design our systems. Waste is a given in design and in operations. So on the do less harm side, we're left to reduce the waste that has been already designed into the processes, goods, and services. So how best do we address this issue? Given our planetary boundaries, we need to safeguard the future for our children and grandchildren by thinking how we design our facilities and processes and our assumptions about how we operate. If waste is a byproduct from original design, we must reduce waste and emissions at each step. What if we were able to start from a design basis that emphasizes reuse instead of disposal? I'll be talking more about this with examples later. We use life cycle assessment to help us design waste out of the system and to figure out how to use our waste byproducts as feedstocks for other processes. What is life cycle assessment? It's the systematic analysis of potential environmental impacts of products or services during their entire life. We start in design with the plan to reuse all byproducts from our exploration, production, transportation, and consumption. This concept is called the circular economy. The right side of the slide represents the change in the way we think about the materials that flow in and out of our businesses. There are two loops that flow into each other, technical and biological. Wherever possible, we reuse materials, not new materials, in the circular economy. And in the circular economy, we focus on 5 areas: 100% renewable energy use, water stewardship, meaning our water use is optimized and our water outputs are clean. We focus on social responsibility. We know we have an impact, a positive one, on the community. We look at material reutilization, and we re-emphasize recyclability and compostability of our products. Lastly, we focus on material health, and we address our human impact on human and environmental health. The UN Sustainable Development Goals are a global agreement to address changes to our social foundation. Remember the inside of our donut? Work on these, and you begin to do more good. You may be thinking, hey, we haven't had to think about these things before, so why start now? The answer is twofold. If you don't work on the global challenges because you may not feel them yet, or they seem too remote and affect people you don't know, the uncomfortable truth is that we all share the same planet. If we tip the planet towards inhospitable conditions, we're all doomed. And the tipping points will be environmental, social, or a combination of both. And secondly, if you want to start, you can actually partner up. Some of us might already be working on reducing poverty, improving health, or promoting education in our communities. UN Sustainable Development Goal number 17, which is partnerships, are the best way to acquire understanding, expertise, and results. So partner up to start doing more good. ESG is the financial world's term for sustainability. If you answer to investors, you need to start addressing the E for environmental, the S for social, and the G for governance issues, or you will lose investors, particularly millennials and Gen Zers, who, as of the middle of 2021, had $1 trillion invested in the market. 1 in 4 millennials who save has more than $100,000 in savings. And when they invest that money, they are investing with a different set of expectation than their parents. 95% of them say they want to use their financial capital for socially responsible investing. 2/3 of this group own stock, and 57% report that they have sold stock when they think a company is not serving the best interest of society or our planet. We're nearly through with the context. Here's a graphic to help you place activities. Regenerative business practice looks at the connectivity of all parts of our value chain. The natural economy are nature's solutions that already exist. The bioeconomy uses bio-based substitutes as inputs and outputs. Remember those 2 loops in the circular economy slide? Technological and biological. That's the bioeconomy. And the circular economy only means that all of our production systems are circular, not linear. Before we get to the 6 R's, You're addressing your methane leaks, you're stopping flaring, and you're thinking about regenerative business practice. Where do you start? The first is reduce your waste, especially emissions, waste byproducts, and heat waste. The second is recycle your byproducts such as solvents. There are already marketplaces that exist to deal with these cost centers. You can turn them into profit centers. Replace material and supplies with low carbon alternatives. That includes recycled materials. Redesign specification and processes for reuse of waste byproducts such as heat, like in cogeneration, or produced water. And keep low carbon in mind. Think about remanufacture and refurbishment of assets such as platforms and equipment for use in other industrial applications. And finally, reimagine useful life of your assets to support biodiversity when you're done with them, like the Rigs to Reef program. And now for some real-world examples. In redesigning for lower carbon intensity and renewable power, we have both offshore and onshore examples. Offshore, some of the oil and gas companies are partnering with utility companies to provide alternative and renewable energy. So wind for offshore can be used to power certain operations. And there's synergy in this business opportunity because current infrastructure can be leveraged and augmented. You've already cleared all the permits. You can sell excess power to the grid. You can offset your carbon footprint because you're generating low carbon electricity. Onshore, Oxy is using solar power to reduce costs and carbon intensity of operations. Many of you use concrete and steel, so consider the use of low carbon materials for new construction. And remember, there are two types of carbon: operational, which is what you use during operations, and embodied, which is stored in materials. So reusing embodied carbon reduces the amount of carbon needed for manufacturing and construction and lowers your carbon footprint. And oh, by the way, this is a linear picture, but we're actually talking about a cycle. Design with reuse as a goal. So now we're looking at future materials that are going to become available. Synthetic biology allows us to create biocement that reproduces by capturing carbon dioxide. We mix sand, hydrogel, cyanobacteria, water, and nutrients. This is how coral grows. Thermoplastics are made from biochar, which is charcoal made from biological waste and converted through pyrolysis into biochar, which sequesters carbon. Binders are combined to create malleable thermoplastic granules and are used for things like sunglasses and building facade panels. These new materials use fungi and biochar. Why is this important? Because it's the bioeconomy at work. The circular economy is a reuse economy. Be sure to check out your regional materials marketplaces. There are some championed by the U.S. Business Council for Sustainable Development. How many of you have operations in livestock raising areas? Can you imagine you in this picture? Can you deploy solar and lease land out for grazing? Can you lease your land for solar installations? If you have livestock, can you put solar on it? These are some of the areas the majors are working on. Technologies like direct air capture with geological storage, nature-based solutions like reforesting or restoration of land and water. Why? Because these processes repurpose land, create and replenish our fresh water sources. They're also working on enhanced natural processes through land management, regenerative agriculture, ocean fertilization. You too can work on nature-based solutions and processes, which are actions to protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural or modified ecosystems. These activities address societal changes effectively and adaptively, while simultaneously providing human well-being and biodiversity benefits. So what might you do? Look into land management. Restore the land where your operations sit, and consider the water habitats. Look into reforesting. The entire life cycle of whatever you're producing has an impact on people and the environment. So do your best to reduce harm and intentionally err on the side of doing more good. As an aside, if you're a member of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, an article covering what we discussed today will appear in the March edition. Here's some additional thoughts. Seek climate-friendly partnerships with procurement and climate-aligned suppliers. Make sure you adopt science-based targets for your entire value chain that are transparent and verifiable. And please prioritize circularity and low-carbon materials and processes that further reduce carbon content. Keep embodied carbon in the loop. You want to reduce your carbon footprint wherever you can. Starting on Monday, what could you do? Join the Society of Petroleum Engineers Sustainable Development Technical Section. Attend a few Gaia Talks sponsored by the Society of Petroleum Engineers through LinkedIn. Find out about activities in your region through networking with your peers. Start up some partnerships. Learn more about low-carbon alternatives. Learn more about the circular economy and regeneration. More importantly, just keep learning. Thank you. And now we're ready for questions.